Good evening, everyone. This is the Open Space Committee meeting for July 2nd, 2025. And I'm calling this meeting to order. Thank you very much. We'll say who's here, and then we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Danica?
Danica Belknap, clerk.
Leonard?
Good evening, Leonard Hull, member.
Jonathan Gale, chair. And if we could read the disclaimer, if we have it there before we...
Yes, so this meeting is being recorded and it's being broadcast live over Zoom. If you wish to join, the meeting ID is 884-7966-6280, passcode 749890. You can also join by phone at 309-205-3325. That's everything.
Thank you. And if we can advise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know where the flag was, but that's okay.
I was going to point it out, but we already started.
That's okay. It's the effort that
It's
counts.
behind your right shoulder for future reference.
Okay. It seems to, I don't know why.
Or no,
I got mixed up,
you're right, the other shoulder.
But anyway, that was good. Thank you. So let's go through the agenda. And we'll start.
Okay,
Your address?
so we did roll call,
Yep.
set next meeting date, Wednesday, August 6th, 5:45 PM.
That works for me. Does that work for the
Yes.
two of you?
Yeah, should be.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we set the date for our next meeting for Wednesday, August 6, 2025 at 5:45 PM.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? None? Leonard?
Aye.
Danica?
aye.
Jonathan? Aye. Very good.
Okay, and then next is the chairman's address.
So I don't have too much, but what I will say for anybody who views this later, I don't say this directly as the chair, I say it partly as the chair, partly as a resident, that, and I don't know if the two of you want to comment on this or not, but I was extremely disappointed in our efforts to have cleanup day. We put it out there, we put it on the town page. We had the selectman's office send out info emails to a significant list of several hundred people that they have on the selectman's email list. And first it was for the townwide cleanup to have our meeting here later in the month of June. And we were here and we had no takers. Now, one person specifically said that they could attend that meeting. We did have one person who said they could volunteer to help out otherwise, and a couple of people who said they would like to volunteer when we have a cleanup in general for the town, but no one showed up, no responses, no nothing. Then we decided to change it a little bit, see if we could do something that was more direct, if you will, for residents. And we decided we were gonna have a cleanup at the North Dayton Playground, which in the end, first of all, I will say, we canceled the night before because of the impending rain, which we had a little bit of that Saturday, but not a lot of, and maybe still could have done it, but it was too late at that point. But regardless of that, we had no, again, it was put out by the Board of Selectmen through the emails listserv and on the website and so forth. We had nobody respond. Nobody sent me an email, nobody gave me a phone call. We didn't have people show up who were down there in the morning on Saturday when you guys were down there ready to say, let's go to work or anything like that. And I'm just saying openly, for open space at least, is that a lot of our residents are quick to say things about this town, what it looks like. They think there's trash here or there's this or that there. And, you know, I feel like we're the small town that could, and we're supposed to be the small town with the big heart. But when it comes to doing things like this, I didn't see a big heart. And that's the truth. You know, whether it's the playground or the other open areas that people go by and say that there's trash there may be, but, you know, part of working together is to volunteer to help pick it up. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But I just wanted to be noted that as the chair of open space, at least, it would have been nice to see residents, especially residents who are on other committees and commissions and already involved in community, offer to try and help out. I don't know if either of you have any comments or not, but if you don't, that's okay if you do.
I do. Danica, do you?
You can, we can go
Okay,
first.
thank you. My concern is greater than just the cleanup. The Board of Selectmen needed to have 3 meetings specifically designed for public input on the budget. The first 2, and this includes Zoom, only 1 person showed up. That was me. The last one, a few others, maybe a half dozen. This is our town, not a town of a few, but a town of over 8,500 residents. We need your input. We need your help. This committee could use 2 more members. Please come and join us. Please help us. We have people out there who criticize. The keyboard warriors are many. I wish they would step up rather than being behind the scenes criticizing, that they come forward and help make Dayton a better place for all people. Thank you.
Danica, is there anything you want to add, or?
You both said it really well.
Don't feel the response, you like you have to.
No, I understand that people are busy and it's hard to find time. But I guess I would say in terms of the cleanup, if people maybe were interested in coming, but couldn't make it, like, it would be good. I think the most frustrating thing for me was that we got like 0 engagement. Like, nobody even responded to any of your emails and Leanne's emails. Like, multiple emails were sent out. We tried to reach people in multiple ways and nobody even responded. And it would be nice to have, I guess, input. And still, like, we have the open space committee email address is what, openspace.committee@dayton-ma.gov, I think is the email address. That anybody can reach out to anytime. And if you want to help, but maybe you couldn't make the date, or Saturday morning's no good, or I don't know, for whatever reason, if there's a different way that we can get together and do some sort of cleanup or some other sort of event, I guess it would be helpful to hear from people if we need to change like our method or approach or something, you know? I think that was the hardest thing, that despite all of our efforts to reach out to people, like, nobody was even willing to work with us or coordinate with us. And it would have been nice to at least have some, like, we can be flexible and accommodate people and meet people where they're at, but we just need a little bit to work with, you know?
I agree. And to segue from that, I know that for the park that we talked about, that I mentioned, the North Dayton Playground, Kevin Smith Jr., Parks and Recs Commissioner, who was also joined in to do this with us, again, he also had no feedback and didn't receive any offers of assistance for that cleanup day last week, regardless of whether it was canceled or not. He's hoping to revisit that in August, and hopefully we can revisit that with him. If not, then it won't happen until probably early September, to give us a chance to try to reorganize something else and put something else together. But inevitably, for those of you who watch this later, we will try again. I don't think three of us are not quitters. So please stay tuned, listen, and consider volunteering or asking others to volunteer and help. That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
I think the other thing I'll say is how can we better reach people so they know what's going on? Like, maybe that's the other issue too. Like, we didn't advertise in the right places. And like, that meeting, the select board budget meeting you're talking about, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I didn't know that it was happening, which is maybe why I didn't go. So, and I think I'm pretty involved and aware. And if I don't know what's like, all the time I hear about meetings that happen that I had no idea they were happening. So and if that's the case for me, there are plenty of other people in town, I'm sure, who don't know what's happening or how they can help and get involved. So I think that's part of the issue too, that like, how can those people find out about those things?
And you know what, you just put an idea in my head actually, which is when the town had the last election, I called the Lions Club and had them put the election information on the sign out here.
Right,
You know, they put it about a week ahead of time for the candidates night at the school. And perhaps that's one of the things that I should be doing, or we should be doing when we're doing events in general, is contacting them more often and asking them to put it on, because these are non-political events.
right.
If it's a cleanup, asking them to put on the big sign out there, town cleanup, North Dayton, like that. Whatever they can do, Saturday, 8 AM. That's just another way to advertise that I need to think about, and I didn't even think about
And
it.
I'm wondering, because the Lions Club has bulletin boards, but also the town does too, if they could be used more often. I know there's one on the corner of Williams and Center announcing the vacancy on Dayton Park and Recreation. So if anyone's interested, Park and Rec could use a third member.
Yeah,
They had a person resign, so, again, volunteerism is a part of what makes Dayton great, so if you could step forward, we could really use the help. But if you could ask Ralph if we could get more access to that bulletin board too.
yep, I will. Okay, thank you. I think we've said what we need to say. Our next item is
Public input, no one's
no
on.
one's on. I think we've given public input so far.
And then old business, so cleanup day subcommittee update, which we already talked about.
Yes.
A little bit, but maybe we can talk about next steps for that.
I think the next steps, in my opinion, are to talk to Kevin, which I can do later tonight or tomorrow before I leave, and I'll still be talking to him when I'm out west anyway, and see if he wants to try and pencil in a date to try again for the playground. And get that out to the two of you right away. And then Leanne, and figure out all the other ways we can advertise it, and it'll probably be sometime, I'm assuming, second or third week in August.
So the plan would be still to focus on our kind of new approach to focus on North Dayton Playground specifically.
I
So
think-
we'll do some park maintenance there and,
He really needs that, he
Yeah.
did tell me that.
Okay.
There's some things there that we could really do to help him out. If he tells me that he's gonna get to it in the meantime by himself, or something like that, then I think we should focus on, right after Labor Day, trying to put together another cleanup. Because before Labor Day, I don't think we're gonna get people in town with kids, camps, other activities. At least after Labor Day, they're back in town, kids going to school. There aren't as many winter sports that take up as much space and time right then, things like that. So I would propose potentially that if Kevin wants us, we try to work for mid to late August, whatever he wants to do. And if he doesn't need us, that we go for like the Saturday after Labor Day. I forget what that date is off the top of my head. For a cleanup of other areas.
so if we don't do the North Dayton Playground, you mean,
Yes.
just do a general cleanup the weekend after
yeah.
Labor Day, which is 13th would be the Saturday after
Okay,
Labor
yeah,
Day.
yeah. Is that, I don't know how the two of you feel,
No, not totally on board.
and we give it another shot
Okay,
and try to do an even more robust, figure out how we can do a more robust advertising campaign this time.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges the first time around was that we couldn't confirm a date with the town and
Yeah.
it kept getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And then finally, we had once we've had the date, we didn't have enough time to really
A
advertise
lot of
it.
time, no.
So I think the key thing here is let's plan it in advance, have a date, stick to that date, and then we can properly advertise it and get people to show up.
I would agree,
I think that's the most important thing. We just need to pick a date early on,
and do it.
yeah.
So I will speak to Kevin in the next day or two
okay.
and get confirmation on what is or isn't before I leave. And get that to the two of you.
Okay,
And then we can go back and forth with how we're doing the advertising and stuff like that.
The next item is the land trust development.
So, I don't know if it's my email or what's going on. I've sent a couple of emails, even since we met last, to the person that you gave me in, Winthrop, not Winthrop,
Westport?
Westport, excuse me, yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten a response back.
Did you just respond to him directly? Because
Yes, I did.
I didn't see a response.
Yeah, I
so
did, and
didn't
I
get it.
haven't, no, well, one of them I CC'd you on, which was like the introduction.
Oh, I didn't see any response. I was gonna ask you if you had reached out to him, because I didn't see any response from him.
The first one was to him and CC to you, like, thank you for the introduction.
Oh, I didn't
And then
see
I
that.
sent him another one about 2 weeks ago and haven't heard back. And my emails are going out. It shows they're going out in my sent mail because I was concerned. I checked my spam and all that sort of stuff. Maybe I don't know if there's a problem on his end or what, but if he knows you, maybe you could reach back out.
Yeah, I didn't see an email come from
Okay.
you, so it might have been, or maybe that first one didn't go through, but the second one did, but I can either way just reach out and say that you've been having some email trouble, and can he
If you
confirm
would.
he got your, yeah.
If you would, because I'd still like to have him come to our next meeting. if
That
you
would be
can.
excellent.
And then also, I did send an email to the person from Sandwich.
Okay.
And I just got that information a few days ago. So I'm hoping to hear back in the next couple of days, actually speaking to the person who gave me their contact tomorrow. So,
Okay.
I was gonna ask both of them if they could come to our meeting. I think too many more than that would be, and I'd let go for Hingham,
No, that's, yeah,
because it's a whole different scenario, as you guys said. But Sandwich, from what I understand, is also pretty strong and pretty robust. So, I'm still planning for one or both of them, hopefully, to be at our next meeting in August.
Okay,
And we can start to go from there. But I want to also send out an email to other departments in case they want to join, but I just want to make sure I have at least one of them saying yes.
okay.
And then when I do that, I'll probably ask Leanne to send that email out to all of the other departments related. I'm sure she will, I'll put it that way.
okay. Sounds good. I guess the other thing that I wanted to do is just in prep of that, like, what is it we want to get out of these, the other, like, these people, representatives from other land trusts? What do we want to learn from them? And do we want to, like, brainstorm some questions to ask them so that we're prepared for that conversation?
I think, I'll speak first if you want me to.
Yeah,
But I think what I want to get from them is, I want to hear, first of all, assuming they were in the beginning of the trust, and they may not have been, but from their perspective, what's involved? What are the departments in town they need to bring in? What kind of things were they looking for in a land trust? What were their expectations? Were they able to get any state support or state assistance to do that? Or any, dollars from the state to purchase any land or anything like that as well? How did they go about it? What kind of grants, what agencies? And maybe I'm going too fast here, I'm sorry.
I
if
can, yeah, I cannot keep up with you. But it is being recorded, so.
Okay. And then how do they establish the trust? How do they determine who the board was gonna be? Or did it go through, done through planning or open space? How is the town managing the trusts? What's the land currently being used for? Or did they come up with an original purpose? So that when a piece of land became available, was it already purposed as to how it would be used or what it would be used? What was involved what were the methods they used to choose what land was available? Was it going to residents who were selling? Was it going to residents who had large parcels and asking them to bequeath it to the town? Was it, did they go through any kind of testing, any kind of perk testing or water testing, or to determine how viable the land was? These are all things I would like to know. So how did they put their trust together? What's, everything literally from what's your mission statement to How is it managed? And if, for the land trust that you currently have, where's your money coming from to manage them? What's the source of that? What's the expectation of the town for that? What did you have to do? Did you have to change anything in your town's bylaws? Because that's important for us. For zoning or for acceptance of land. I think these are all questions that are important. The two of you may have others, but these are, to me, these are where we start.
I would be interested in knowing who was the signatory for the trust? Was it a citizen or was it a town official? And also how the money is what are the checks and balances in regards to, paying for the purchase of the land? Or even donations that came into the trust for the purchase of land. How is that handled? Process. Does that have to go through Serena's office? Or would there be a separate land trust treasurer who keep their own books? Now, CPC, all the monies that transfer back and forth, does CPC have a treasurer, or do they?
No, there is
everything
no
goes-
treasurer in CPC. I'm a member of CPC.
Right. So it all goes through Serena?
Yes.
The town accountant?
Yes, and it's signed off by our chair, by Kevin.
Right. Okay. So those are the questions, how that would take place.
Danica?
Those are good questions. I guess I have a question, not for them, but before we meet with these other groups, I want us to be on the same page and figure out. And I guess my question is, how far along is planning for the land trust, and who's besides us in this room? I know we've talked about it a couple times. Are there others in town who are kind of driving this, and who would be starting and running this land trust? Is that something that we're trying to take on, the three of us, or are there others who are leading this effort?
Mr. Hull might know better than I, but because he has much more history in town. But what I would think, because I haven't heard directly of the two other primary committees that I'm thinking of, would be planning and conservation. I haven't heard that planning or conservation has specifically ever talked about land trust or considered it as to, and raised any of the questions that we're raising. But I think if we are going to seriously look at land trust, it's important to have them at the table.
Mr. Smith and Mr. Cavallo at a joint meeting with Park and Rec Planning, they showed an interest in establishing it. My understanding, it would be a separate group, a separate board, almost like a CPC. How that group would be formed, that's open to discussion. Would it be appointment by the Board of Selectmen? Would it be just,
Or one or two members from each of the committees I just
Committees.
mentioned.
right? I mean, ultimately, the Board of Selectmen would be the deciding board that would decide how it would be created. But, you have many options.
My hope is, and I don't know if he'll make it or not, but I'm also going to, once we have a confirmation, I'm going to invite Ralph.
Right, absolutely.
Ralph is from Sandwich. So even if they can't make it directly, and I'm hoping one or both will, I may also separately invite Ralph to join us for a meeting. Because I'm sure he can give us a lot of insight into what Sandwich has done and how they've done it. And as a town administrator, he can tell us a lot of what he knows about how he thinks it should be handled, who it should go through,
Right.
who the oversight body should be, how it should be made up.
I feel like we should be having those conversations before we start talking to other groups, though. I mean, maybe not. I just think we make it clear that we're in the early exploratory phases, but I'm also kind of like, I guess the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I'm wondering what sort of authority or power we have in this room to start a land trust, and why are we going through the effort of doing this if we're not the ones who are going to be doing it? Whoever it is that would start the land trust should be the one having these conversations, and they should be in the room.
I guess my answer to that would be, as silly as this is gonna sound, it has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these other committees, because I agree with you, we don't know. I think we're all saying we don't know what the body would be or where it should start.
Ultimately, it'll be the Board of Selectmen that will
But
decide.
and ultimately, if BOSS, or if it's something that has to be adopted through town meeting, just even the talk of setting up a trust, even if there's not one donation yet, we have to have the outline eventually to set up a trust. And that will probably have to go to town meeting.
Right.
So I guess what I'm thinking of, and Danik, I entirely agree with you, with the caveat that somebody's got to start the process.
But there's got to be someone, I agree with that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything, but I just think we need to be thinking realistically about who's going to manage this thing. And until we have somebody who is committed to taking this on, like, our efforts are kind of wasted, because I doubt anyone in this room is going to commit to that time commitment to doing this if it were actually to happen.
Yeah.
So why are we going to waste our efforts going down this path if we don't know someone's going to, like, kind of pick up the baton and actually do it?
I guess still, because I feel, and I can be outnumbered here, that's okay. Because we're, quote, open space, unquote, we're taking the proactive approach, just like we've taken for the playground or cleanup or anything else. We're taking the proactive approach of gathering the information. And we don't know or have any of the answers to any of the questions that the three of us are thinking about. But putting those questions in the hands of somebody else may mean that we're waiting another year or two to get the answers. I don't know who's gonna take it over, or what body, or even if it's gonna go anywhere. But I do feel that if we have people coming in who have done it and they're educating us, that gives us a lot of information to move forward that we otherwise wouldn't have. And I don't know if I want to rely on one of the other committees, on, no offense to Parks and Rec or Planning or Conservation or anyone else, no offense to any of them. They all have their agendas and they're all busy like we are, and the people are busy like we are. But I feel like, if nothing else, by asking questions and getting answers, that may mean we still may not move forward on anything. But at least we have the information, and it's out there, and it's on Zoom, and there's a physical record of what other people can look at. And we're moving forward as opposed to not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, we see there is a need. Other committees have said there is a need. I know in the case of Park and Rec and Planning, they just don't have the manpower or the time to do that. I'd like if you could meet with Peter, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and Ralph, and see if they're behind, would support our efforts. If they're on board, then we'll put something together. I think if they're not, then we probably should drop it, simply because it's going to need the Board of Selectmen approval.
So I don't disagree, but this goes back to now this harkens back to me directly to the question that Danette's asking, why are we doing this? But Danica is asking.
The people
Because
are dying.
if I'm gonna meet potentially with Ralph and or Peter, and to collect, to see where their support is and to gauge their support, the first question they're gonna ask rightfully is, so why do we want a land trust and what are we gonna do with it?
Okay,
And if I were them, that's what I'd be saying.
that's okay.
Why do we want it? What are we gonna do with it? Who would be involved in it? What's your vision?
That's why we're meeting with Westport.
That's
and
why I think in order to move forward at all, it's important to at least invite some folks to the table to educate us.
Absolutely,
So
because I'm
that
sure they gotta ask that
Then
question.
I could see me and the two of you as open space who did it, or whatever it would be, one of you, I don't care, sitting with me, sitting down with Ralph and Peter,
We'd
saying,
have to have a meeting.
we've done our homework,
If we had two, that's why I suggested
this
one.
is what we're finding, this is what we'd like to talk about, what do you want us to do about it, where do you want us to go with it? And you know, the first response is gonna be, let us think about it. But I don't even know what I wanna answer for them if they ask me any questions yet. I don't know, Danica, what do you think?
That's fine.
You sound, you're hesitant, and I know that. Do you feel it's too much heavy lifting right now, or?
No, I guess I'm just feeling a little bit, like, to me, the prospect of starting a land trust feels a little overwhelming to me, and I don't know if it's something that we should realistically be focusing a lot of our efforts on, unless we know for sure that it's supported and it's going to move forward. So again, like everything you've said at this point, it's all explanatory. There's nothing wrong with talking to the other groups and figuring out like what the process would be and what goes into starting a land trust. I think that is good information for us to have, like you said, so that we can look into how to move things forward. But when we go back to like the select board and Ralph and whoever else we need to talk to, like the question is going to be who is going to run this. And so I just think that's the first thing that or in my opinion, one of the first things we need to figure out is who's going to do it and who has the bandwidth to do it. If we like, before we get too far in the process, I just think that's important.
So then what I'm hearing, if I'm wrong, correct me, is you're not necessarily opposed to having people come and just educate us and let us ask our questions. But from there, I think what I'm hearing you say is we need to come up with a plan, a preliminary idea
Preliminary.
to present to Peter / Ralph, whomever, with the caveat being, now the ball's in your court. We've given you what we know. If you want to move forward on this, it's up to you or not. And our job was to gather information and put it together. And that's what we felt our responsibility is, to get this process at least going potentially. And now it's up to you guys to decide where you want to go with it,
If they want.
because we don't have the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we just pass the ball to them and just step out and have
Yeah.
nothing to do with it after that. But I just think that we need to have a realistic conversation about that and make sure they're on board before we go any further, I guess.
I can still reach out to, when I'm talking to Ralph next week, I don't know if he's on vacay or not. I can ask him, do you have a problem with us doing this? I don't think he will. I think he and I told him at one point we were thinking about it, and he said, oh, that's a nice idea, or something like that. So I think.
Nice idea, sure,
But-
isn't the same thing as, yes,
know.
I'm going to support this.
I agree.
Like,
with
I
you.
think we need,
I can reach
someone
out
to take
yeah.
responsibility for it. Is
I
what
can
I'm
reach
saying.
out to he and Peter and at least see if they would go that far with us.
In talking to Ralph briefly about it, he did say, as you mentioned earlier, he is from Sandwich, that it has been the land trust in Sandwich is a good one, that it's been very helpful for the town. I'm sure they would have some influence on the concept in Ralph's mind, the makeup of the committee. I'd be curious to see what representation Ralph and Peter would like to see happen. If they were to say to you, your idea, you run with it, then we need to talk again, because then it would become an issue of manpower and time commitment for this body of just 3 people.
So let me suggest, I will reach out to Ralph and Peter if I can. I'll start with Ralph, see if we can set up a time for the 3 of us, myself, Ralph, and Peter. If not, just Ralph. See how far down he wants to go with this. I'd still like to set the meeting up for Sandwich and Winthrop to come,
Oh, absolutely.
but see how far down they want to go with it beyond that.
Okay.
Because I also feel, even if right now, and the 2 of you may agree or disagree again, even if right now it gets pushed way down the road, when I say way down, I mean 1, 2, maybe 3 years down the road. I don't know, I'm speaking for myself now, I don't know what my involvement will be with the town, if I'll be on this committee or I'll still be on CPC or other committees in town, no idea. Zoning, all these things that could be affected potentially by a land trust. So on a person, and I'm assuming the 2 of you can't say where you'll be or what you'll be on in 3 years either, or 2 years. And I think for me personally, it's important if I'm gonna be involved in committees in the future to still wanna know the information. So that at least if it comes up in 2 years and not before then, I can say, well, 2 years ago, we did this and there's a video, and by the way, this is what I learned. And I guess that's just the way I do things. Maybe I'm wrong,
No, I like that.
but
How the discussion really, or I should say the involvement, interest of planning and Park and Rec was the need, and there is a big need, to expand passive recreation in the town of Dayton. We even talked about, land set aside for hunting. Bird watching, like in Taunton, they have the beautiful Boyden Bird Sanctuary. Those are things that we might be able to piggyback with conservation, because conservation has their own enterprise system. But unfortunately, over the last few years, they've taken money out of that was set us, that could be used to purchase land, and used it in their legal issues that they've had, whether it be with developers or residents who contest their decisions in court.
well, I think it makes sense then, to also bring Kevin Smith into the conversation with the other 2 committees, with Parks and Rec also.
Sure.
But I don't want to move forward for sure to schedule this in August unless the 2 of you agree. That it's at least worth having them come and talk and answering questions.
The 2 towns?
The 2 towns.
Absolutely.
Put together a bunch of questions. We all kind of go back and forth and create a draft of things that we would like to potentially hear about or talk about.
Before we go beyond the 2 towns, let's,
But I just want to make sure the 2 of you are okay with me asking the 2 towns to come and talk to us about how they've done it.
Yeah, we've already invited Westport at this point, and
Yep.
I think we should follow through and do it and learn what we can, but I guess and this is helpful, now I know, I just wanted to know, what it was we were trying to get out of the meeting and how far things are, but I understand that better now, so.
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, thank you for agreeing. I appreciate both of you for doing that.
yeah, and after we talk to them, and whether we all talk with Ralph, and
Yeah.
I think, we should talk to, depending on who shows up at the meeting, but if others don't come to that meeting, we should make sure we connect with the planning board, select board, conservation commission, and Ralph, and,
I'm gonna be reaching out
See
to
what they
everyone
think.
next week,
yeah,
maybe even starting tomorrow,
okay,
but certainly early mid next week. And I'm just gonna remind the 2 of you, I will be in a 3-hour time difference starting Saturday. And I will be 100% off the grid from the 20th through the 30th. So I will have my phone, I'm gonna do everything by my phone, I'm not even taking my computer where I'm going for a change. But I can do everything by my phone, and if there's something I can't do, then Justina can take care of it for me. So if we need to go back and forth in any of this at all, just as an FYI for the two of you. So when you get emails from me, if they come through the town email, there may be things that I've dictated to Justina, or that she's put together for me and sent out to you guys. Okay, that's it. I have my homework for that.
Thank you.
Next,
There's nothing under new business.
The
Yeah.
bylaw,
yep, we had the bylaw to look at.
Okay, I
conservation
just had,
subdivision
it says new
bylaw.
business
Yes.
A.
Oh, that's the last one under old business,
Okay,
conservation subdivision bylaw updates.
I started listening to, and I've listened to it twice so far, the whole
Okay.
bylaw that you sent. Thank you very much for sending it, by the way. And because I listened to it, it takes a little time to digest where it has the inserts and everything in it, because it's, for you, it's visual. So I've listened to it twice so far. And I've seen a couple of places maybe where I might want to change a few words still, and I'm still working on that. But it would, to me, just to give it a little more teeth, a little more strength. The other reason I sent you out both the survey link that you have on your emails. Because I think the survey, to me, and you alluded to this, I think.
Can you
Danica,
just
too.
explain for people who might be listening in, just what the survey?
So there's a survey on SurveyMonkey, and you can get it on the town's website. And the survey is a housing survey for the housing production plan that the town needs to provide to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The housing production plan is the measure that determines the types of housing we're gonna have, especially when it comes to public housing. That could be rental housing, that could be low-income purchase housing, it could be seniors housing. And the town is under a responsibility over time to theoretically get ourselves to 10% of affordable housing in the town. And again, that can be defined as purchasing through the 40B program, or rental assistance, or expanding our public housing access, seniors housing, like that. There are different types of housing, and this is what the survey talks about, is what are the different types of housing that we as residents would want or not want in our town. Everything from small developments to large developments to cluster housing, which is almost like a cul-de-sac, if you will, of it could be duplexes side by side or up and down, to a village type of housing environment that might be a little more open spaced and house some other things like, businesses and so forth with it as well. Do we just want seniors development only? Do we want mixed use development? Things that are no more than 8 to 10 units, some units up to 40 units, 80 units. What are the ages we want? It asks, there are about 30 different questions, I believe. For those of you who haven't looked at this survey, I encourage you to do it, but I also ask you to look at it with an open mind. When I say open mind, I think I say that because a lot of people say not in my town. And it doesn't matter what I think about not in my town, it matters what we all think in not in my town. And this survey helps the town put its report together that has to go to the Commonwealth. But more than that, it indicates the type of housing. Ultimately, one way or another, and I'm saying this openly, this town is gonna have to figure out going forward how we're gonna comply with the state requirements, whether we like it or not. Right now, our affordable housing numbers are going backwards. They're going probably below 4% at this point. The more we build other development, or even just single-family houses, 1 or 2 at a time, or development that doesn't have affordable housing in it, the further percentage points we fall behind. So inevitably, we'll probably have some kind of affordable housing expansion in the future. And this gives you, the residents, a chance to have a say, a legitimate say, in the types of housing recommendations that come out of the Serpent reports, the final reports for open space, future design and development that are going to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts through the production plan. So I would ask people again, keep an open mind. Everyone says not in my neighborhood, but at the same time, we all know there are, more and more people who are aging out that want to stay in this community. And I think we have to keep that in mind. Maybe smaller footprints because they can't afford that 1 or 2 or 3 acres they're living on anymore to manage it emotionally, physically or financially. But they want to stay in town. do we expand our public housing in order to allow them to do that? So that they can rent, perhaps. A lot of people in our town are on fixed incomes or will be on fixed incomes because of age or disability, same thing. What can we do to keep people in town so that they can age here as opposed to somewhere else? So I ask you to keep that in mind when you look at the survey. Did that make sense?
Yes, very, very good, excellent, thank you. When is the deadline?
I think the deadline is the end of this month. I don't think it says on the survey exactly.
No, I don't mean on the survey. The town of Dayton submits their plan.
I think we're overdue.
We are overdue,
So
but what's the new deadline?
I don't have the exact deadline at this point. I know that there is a plan, and Danica, you may or may not know better than I. I think there was a plan, I want to say maybe in August or something. At some point, Taylor was going to take all of the survey data and present it to planning and present it to whatever other, maybe to the Board of Selectmen as well. That's put together. I don't know the exact timeline on that. I have to reach out to Taylor and have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a different department than I'm in at
Okay.
Serpent, so I don't know what the timeline is. But I could ask Taylor, or you can ask Taylor.
Okay, I can ask Taylor, I can reach out. But I do think that to some extent, you know, the survey goes, to me, it's sort of a hand in hand a little bit of the draft zoning bylaw change in terms of what people are looking for. You don't need one to not have the other, and certainly we're gonna have the zoning bylaw change one way or another. But I think that maybe people, by doing the survey, or at least looking at it, I would hope people fill it out, but even if they don't, if they look at it, it could help guide people on the survey, on the draft zoning bylaw change, rather, as to what to think about. So I know it's given me some ideas. You know, when I was listening to the parts that was asking about cluster housing, for example, which to me, I think of as, you know, like small development of side-by-side type units, almost like courtyard type kind of environment. That keeps some open space and at the same time allows for housing but doesn't require a large footprint. So when I think of the draft proposed change that would allow so many units in a smaller space, that's what I think of. And to me, that's where something like cluster housing comes in.
Now, right, although the bylaw does not speak about affordable housing in a conservation subdivision, in your negotiation with developers, can you stipulate or ask them to include affordable housing units?
You can ask developers to do anything at all, but the developers also, you know, to do affordable housing, the developers have to be part of mass housing
Okay,
and probably HUD as well, and potentially DCHD. I don't know what the food train is there.
from a legal point of view,
Right, so
how
I-
much can you twist their arm?
I don't know.
Do you mean in the conservation subdivision bylaw specifically, can you ask? Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this last time.
There
but
was something there.
There's the density bonus
Yes, yeah,
option,
exactly.
where you can incentivize developers
And include
to
affordable
include affordable housing.
Okay.
But I don't know about the legality of requiring affordable housing. I would have to look into that more. I also think that would be a harder pass, like to get this bylaw
Yeah.
passed if you were requiring affordable housing, but it does, like you can incentivize developers to do it.
So that would be the planning board? That would-
Well, if it's the zoning, if the zoning ordinance passes, it wouldn't be the planning board, it would be the new zone, it would be the new zoning regulation.
Well, I think, but I think it's the, hold on, let me see who's the permit granting, because this is
I
a
know.
special permit development. And
No,
I don't remember who the special permit granting authority is.
I thought in this case it was the planning board.
It's not ZBA,
I don't think it was ZBA.
then it's planning board.
I think it's planning.
Okay.
If I was listening to it correctly. If I was, and Danica's looking, I know she's going through it.
Have we submitted our recommendations
I
yet?
haven't submitted mine because I'm still listening to it a few times. It's harder to listen to, and Justine has been out on vacation and then sick, so I haven't worked with her until next week.
Are we doing it individually or as a body?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about in a few minutes too, but that's the last part of when we have this conversation, is do we each want to submit our recommendations individually as residents? Or do we want to come together and put on our agenda for September, only because we hope we have something else going on here in August, recommendations for all of us to come up with like maybe 0 to 10 recommendations, and we can review them and collectively submit our recommendations in September, because Danica said I know we have till the end of the year now, but sooner is better.
I would like to do it as a group, based on, we each look at it, things that we'd like to see, and then present them, and then vote on whatever we agree to submit as a body.
I think, yeah, so that was kind of the intention of this meeting tonight, but I think I myself, I could have taken a little bit longer to review this, and it sounds like others too as well
I
want
do
some
need more
additional time to
because of
review.
listening and everything.
So maybe my suggestion, and the other piece was too, that I think before, the reason why we didn't make recommendations previously was because we wanted to hear what the other committees had to say. We wanted to
Yeah.
hear what Conservation Commission has to say, and as
Yeah.
far as I know, Serped hasn't met with the Conservation Commission yet. And,
I don't think you've heard from Kevin yet either. I don't think we've heard from Kevin.
right, yeah,
And
so,
not stormwater either, right?
right, yeah, so I think those three are the three key people that Serped still needs to talk to, and we wanted to hear their feedback before we decide. But I think, so what I suggest we do to keep ourselves accountable is our August meeting's already spoken for. Let's plan to do it in September, but if we can each review it and send our comments to each other before September, not.
I'm not so sure we can do that.
But can we not decide on
We're not
anything and not
deciding
discuss
anything. We're working
anything?
on it.
That I'm not sure as far as, the open meeting law.
But it would be the same thing as circulating a document before a meeting,
Yeah,
so
that's
we
all we're
could
doing.
review it
Okay.
and discuss it at the, I mean, we can
That's all we're
confirm.
doing.
But what I would suggest we do is we just each write down our own thoughts, send them out, not have any discussion, but if everyone can review them, and then
Yeah.
we can discuss them in the meeting, and we can confirm that that's okay if that's not okay.
And that would
we
be
don't have to
really
do that.
important for
But
me.
I just think that's a good way to keep us accountable and make sure that it'll be more productive in the meeting,
That's frankly, for me especially, really important.
yeah.
I'll reach
because
out to Patrick to
where
make sure we're.
I can't see it. I don't want either of you to have to use that time to read your suggestions to me and then let me digest them. I would rather hear your suggestions, when I say hear, have ahead of time to listen to.
Okay,
And that way, I already know what they are and I can sort of check them off or not. Or, maybe they're the same as mine, so I can eliminate one of mine because one of you has it. If I hear it in advance, I'm much better off. That's what I'm trying to say.
okay.
So I don't know if you're reaching out to Patrick or not, but my
just
comment would be, if you really are, then my comment would be, because our chair has a disability and is blind, he needs the information ahead of time in order to be proactive.
I was going to do it that way
So,
because, there's special circumstances.
and I think that would be okay. We're not gonna come out with a final list. We're not gonna,
We're not gonna discuss it, we're just our comments to each other to
no,
review.
but I know I can listen to yours and I can put a check or an X next to it and send it back.
Right.
And say, I like these, and vice versa.
Okay,
So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that way, after our September meeting, the goal would be to have a final copy that we agree with, that I can submit on behalf of the committee for review. Doesn't mean anybody's gonna agree to the changes, but they're just our proposals.
and as a follow-up to something Jonathan said earlier, just so the public gets the idea that it's not just how Jonathan feels about affordable housing in the town of Dayton. the very fact that the 40B committee hasn't met in a number of years. The fact that the town had to get an extension on submitting their plan. The lack of work on it until the 11th hour is a concern. And what drives that concern is that the town has a both moral and legal obligation to provide a plan and affordable housing for residents who either want to move into Dayton or transitioning from their homes for whatever reason to public housing. We have a lot of residents, elderly residents, who are very concerned, both because of their age and trying to upkeep their home, and also the tax rate. They like to live in Dayton, remain in Dayton, but they can't do it in the home that they currently live in. But their great-grandparents and their whole life has been Dayton, and they want to continue that. And that would be a great loss to them if they had to sell their homestead and had to also move out of Dayton. So it would be a double loss for some of these people. And I know one family in particular, they've been here since the 1920s. So I've heard that, Dayton needs to do more for public housing, senior in the area for seniors. So, thank you.
Danica, do you have any comments or?
Yeah, I would just to kind of tie this back into our current conversation, like people might be questioning, why are we discussing this? What does this have to do with anything? And I just want to bring us back to like what we're talking about is this conservation subdivision bylaw and how the goal of it is to protect open space, but it's also to provide housing that is not at the cost of open space. So how can we provide housing and protect important open space? So we need to remember what our role is as the open space committee, and our comments should be focused on the value and the value of the open space that's protected. But it is also like the other side of this is, can we also update the bylaw so that it also is meeting those housing needs? Like this type of bylaw, the type of housing that it's proposing is clustered type housing, which offers it doesn't have to, but it could offer the opportunity to have like those smaller property size, more manageable houses for a wider range of people, like that downsizing thing that you're talking about. So I just think, I want to just bring it back to like, why are we talking about this and why is it relevant for us to talk about that? And so I'm just putting that. And I guess the other thing I'm hearing too is that there's no other committee in town who's really focusing on this issue. You both feel like if the 40B committee is not meeting.
That's correct. Yeah.
It's kind of like no one else is talking about this, no one's addressing it, so.
No, they are not. And I think, as I've indicated in my conversations with the town administrator, he's going to be speaking to planning because that's who he feels should be reviving the 40B committee. And he's thinking that potentially the 40B committee should be a subcommittee, of the planning committee. Now, whether that's really the case or not, or they want it to be, is a different story. So I've offered to speak to planning with the town administrator. And I know that it's on his radar, and I know that he's also told the administrative assistant for zoning and planning, Carrie, to make sure it's on the radar for the next committee meeting that they have. That's where it's at so far. So I don't know that we have to, my personal opinion is it shouldn't have to be a subcommittee of planning. It should be a separate entity. But that's not up to me to decide.
Right, knowing the amount of work that planning has, I respect it is their responsibility, but can they realistically handle that additional work, especially where they'd be starting almost at ground zero? Because there isn't, since that committee hasn't met in years, were you originally
I
on?
was also gonna say, I mean, the other side of this is, with the exception of one person there who goes to Serpent, and I know that person to some extent has discussed 40B concept and et cetera, but with the exception of that, I don't know anyone else in town that I can think of who knows as much about the 40B process than I do, frankly, because of other work that I've done. Having said that, that doesn't mean that the 40B committee has to be made up of people who are all well-versed. It would be great, but it's gotta start someplace.
But the previous 40B committee, they hadn't done a volume of work.
There were a lot of recommendations of things that we wanted to do, and I don't wanna get too into the weeds on 40B right now.
Okay,
But there were a lot of recommendations of things that we wanted to do and could have been doing over the years, had we still been meeting. But for reasons that I don't think are fair to go into publicly,
okay,
we stopped.
right,
So, but I think, again, I'm hearing what Danica is saying, I'm going back to what Danica is saying about the zoning bylaw. And I think, as far as the zoning bylaw, looking at what the footprint needs to be for housing or recreational activities, or both.
right.
So it's important to keep in mind that this bylaw, there's really three things to be accommodated in the bylaw. You know, one is the overall open space, the second one is for other recreational types of activities, and the third is for housing, in my opinion.
Well, there's,
So, and there's room in there for all of it, by the way. That's all I have to say.
So how are you involved in the housing production plan, and who is like the steering committee, so to say, for that?
That's Taylor.
Yeah, but I mean in the town, like who is leading that in the town? Is Taylor working with the planning board, or
Taylor-
is there another group?
Taylor is not working with anyone, except she's reporting to the planning board.
Okay,
That's my understanding. If somebody watches this later and wants to correct me, but it's my understanding from our town administrator that Taylor has pretty much been doing this and reporting to the planning board what she is doing, and will be reporting the results of the survey, for example, to the planning board. I don't know that anyone else is directly involved in putting together the production plan at this point, or who is. It's not clear.
okay.
Not a very good answer, but it's the one I have.
yeah. Now, as the ADA coordinator,
That would be me.
you have a seat at the table,
I should.
especially in the area of people with disabilities needing housing.
If you're gonna ask me if I've been asked to submit or been involved in it, the answer so far is no.
The housing production plan? So how are you so informed on it? How do you know so much about it?
I know people who know people. I'm very familiar with the process. I've worked on this process in other places, and am very aware of what it all takes. There's a lot to it. It's a long plan. It's, 70, 80 pages of a lot of a census. You have a lot of things that go into it. There's census material, there's socioeconomics, there's what the requirements are, how you're gonna base those requirements, looking at what you currently have for public housing stock. There's a lot of things that go into putting this plan together. It's not, the survey is a big part of it for future planning, but future planning is predicated on what you already have.
Now, this committee would do it, or would SERPA do it, or both?
The 40B committee should be involved in the process. Because part of the process should be, again, this is getting away from the from the zoning to some extent, from the zoning plan to some extent. But part of the process of a 40B committee, in my opinion, is to work with developers. You know, we may have a new zoning bylaw that calls for open space, but calls for a footprint of cluster housing
Correct.
and allows for the offerings that we were talking about. But in order to do that, we have to attract developers. One of the ways you do that is with the 40B committee is by meeting with developers and talking about how do we incentivize them as much as we want them to incentivize us? And that's part of the process, is meeting with the different developers. We've got these 5 acres here. This is what we're hoping to do. We've got a total swath of 20 acres. 5 of it can be used for housing. Help us come up with a plan.
Now, my understanding, our charge, the Open Space Committee, was to look at the whole bylaw and to give our opinion on aspects of the whole bylaw, not just open space. Is that correct?
My understanding is the opposite. I remember in our previous meetings saying that we specifically were gonna focus on the open space components of it.
I agree with that.
Okay.
And, yeah, I mean, so honestly, that was, at the start, that was what we said, that our role, because we received some challenges from community members who were concerned about our role as the open space committee and our, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to say? Our authority to speak on these issues, I guess. And it was noted, and we agreed that our role as the open space committee was specifically to focus on the open space, like protection related components of the bylaw. And we weren't going to speak to the other pieces of it.
Correct.
Okay.
But what I'm hearing and what I have observed is that nobody else is contributing to any of the other pieces. So I'm like kind of reassessing that, because we were told to stay in our own lane, but there's nobody in the other lane who's contributing is kind of what my observation. So maybe we need to rethink that.
So here's my comment to that, which is, I'm not gonna disagree at all, because I agree with you entirely. And I haven't heard feedback from anyone at all. And the work that went into this wasn't and shouldn't be for naught, because people are just averse to responding to anything or not spending time to look at this. I know when I give commentary, when I give my points of potential word changes or sentence structure or it's certainly going to be related to open space, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's probably going to have some commentary about types of housing too, or about how it can be done.
Especially,
So I guess what I'm saying is, do I think I'm capable as an individual person of just stopping with open space? No.
But I think, well, I mean, we'll talk about it, but then in that situation, it might be appropriate for us to submit joint comments with regards to open space, but maybe you, Jonathan, submit
My own
your
personal.
own personal
Yeah,
comments.
and that's what I would do, frankly. That is what I would do.
that's, as a taxpayer and a citizen of the town of Dayton, that is your prerogative.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, and not a whole lot of, like, what was it? I forget, I heard some comment about how few people come to like town meeting and public meeting, or just in general, like public meetings, not that many people show up and people get discouraged. But you know, that just means the people who do show up, you have that much more power, because you're kind of calling the shots if no one else is speaking up.
You know,
So if you're the only one who speaks up, Jonathan,
yeah.
power to you.
You know, it's funny, and I've said this to people, and this is a silly example of something, but I'm gonna digress for a second. When my development, which was designed and built with private ways, private roads, all 3 streets are private, we had a caveat in there that allowed us to petition the town to have our roads become public ways. which in the perspective of our development has made a big difference for HOA fees. And I say this because when we petitioned the town to become public ways, we have 60 homes. And when it went to town meeting, and we had to get up and make the request for why our road should be public ways with all the arguments you could muster around it, and I got up and spoke on behalf of the development. We had every single resident there, and some of their spouses, so we probably had 90 to 100 residents there.
Good.
So
Vote is-
when it came up for a town meeting vote, it was absolutely virtually unanimous. There wasn't one resident there, and people probably were opposed to it, who spoke up. And I'm just saying that there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, showed that if you do things in a certain way, there really are powers in numbers in this town to get things changed or accomplished, or at least done. So that's all I want to say.
There is a clause in the bylaw, as you mentioned earlier, about incentives. And personally, I see that as an opening for us to comment to the people that are putting together this final draft. Don't forget about the potential for public housing.
Well, I think, Leonard, the purpose of looking at the draft and going through the draft is to look at the whole thing and, where you have the draft line items, insert what you want where you want it. Whether it's a word, a sentence,
Okay,
whatever it is. That's the purpose of track changes,
all right, thank you.
is to put it right in there, not to write a separate commentary. This should also include. I'm not saying you don't do that. I don't want to discourage that. But if you're looking for a draft change, put it right where it should be.
Okay.
Would you agree, Danica, or no? You might disagree.
No, I mean, that's the purpose of this, for us to add our, additions to
Yeah.
the
All
bylaw.
right,
I think that's
all
fine.
right, rather than a bullet point, you rather,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how we wanna, either we can edit this, track our changes, do our own kind of red lines.
Yeah.
Or we could just put together a bulleted list where we say in section, 4360 about density bonuses, add this.
Yeah,
or
and that's what
something.
I'm gonna do, because that's easier for me.
well, it'd
It's
also
just
be,
change or add, it's pretty much what you'll see.
Yeah,
it
Section
also,
such and such, change, add.
all right. It'd also be easy for the person who's trying to put together the final draft, right?
if we do it directly in the document,
No, if
If we put
we
together a
put
list.
bullet points so they can go through them and,
Yeah, if you make a
Discuss.
list.
and then they can choose what to
Right.
keep or
Yeah,
whatever.
they can make a list, or we can at least, with collectively together, we're looking at our lists,
Yeah,
and we can say, okay, we agree with Danica on this one, let's put this in there that way.
Right.
Or maybe we agree with Danica except for one word,
okay,
let's come up to and put it in there,
all right. No, thank you.
so that we know what we're doing. So that the goal is to come out of our September meeting, whether I have 5 things, 10 things, or 15 things, and either of you, the goal is to come out with what we think is the right things.
All right,
Might only be 3 in the end, who knows?
okay,
But where it should go and how the language should be.
right.
okay. All right, well, so
That's-
we're gonna continue this conversation in September.
Yeah.
And that's it for agenda items.
Yep.
No new business,
Nope.
public input, there's no one from the public here.
Minutes?
Minutes, yeah, so the June 4th minutes.
Yep. Thank you for doing them as always. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes for June 4th?
So moved?
Second,
Any discussion out there? Have to ask. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Danica?
aye.
Leonard?
Aye.
Jonathan? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion to adjourn, seconded. Leonard?
Aye.
Danica?
aye.
Jonathan? Aye.
Time is 7:06.
Thank you, public. Hopefully,
Thank you.
some of you will watch this later. We'd appreciate it if you would.
Send us an email if you do.